The lesson today is water in the well. This piece I wrote, like I said, 26 years ago. And it was about a real situation in a friend of mine's life, but it's a testimony to how when you live and you do things a certain way, life turns out a certain way, and when you least expect it. Sometimes when you can't expect it. So that's what the lesson is today. We're going to get to that in just a few. And as I try to do every week, I want to reach out to anybody in the listening audience who's ready to step up and help boys become men who can take care of their own. Every person I know who's achieved anything significant in life can remember at least once looking up at someone and saying, I want to be like that. And too many of our young people don't get that opportunity. They don't get a chance to look up and see somebody like you. Somebody who came up, maybe had to go through some trials and tribulations, but who did what they had to do anyway. And as a result, have been able to handle life's responsibilities. And in many cases, produce a next generation that was able to do the same. So guys, we need you. We need guys who feel good about what they've done with their lives and understand that little boys need to be able to see a man before they can be a man. And one of the things about the Silverback Society, go to silverbacksociety.com, look around, click join. But one of the things about these brothers is that we are no longer hoodwinked. So often in our community, when we search for solutions, we look in other places. And what the guys in the Silverback Society have decided is that they are a solution. They are a solution for a little boy that doesn't believe in his own possibilities because he has not seen the results of putting your shoulder to the grind wheel. So he doesn't do it. But they need to see you, and it works. We are the solution. As a matter of fact, we are the only solution. Nobody can inspire these black boys other than black men. Because if they don't see you, they don't believe it's possible. So anyway, go to silverbacksociety.com, look around, click join, and the website will collect your information. Or we have a phone number you can call now, 504-208-1034. So you might be the next superhero in the Silverback Society. So hopefully by now you've contacted your girlfriend and them and told a lady in the beauty salon to turn the Love Doctor on. And if you're on Facebook, go to Love Dr. Nola. That's where the Love Doctor show is going to be hanging out from now on. I know that's a little switch, but you know, things change. Things change. And so now we're going to go to the column. Let's see what I wrote 26 years ago. It's always, I read it fresh with you. And I just always like to say remember, this is a 40-year-old Love Doctor. He's probably was just reaching the point where he became understood just how much he had figured out. And he was kind of proud of it. So sometimes he was kind of, what should I say, a little full of himself. I've grown out of that since then, but I try to bring him back when I read these. So this one is called Water in the Well. And remember, this is not about me right now, so don't anybody call in and wish me, be concerned about me having the flu, because I don't have the flu and didn't have the flu this week. It's called Water in the Well. Had the flu this week, had to work anyway. That's what happens when you work for yourself. However, in between tasks, I did my best to get into bed and rest. Boo was wonderful. She made sure I ate, had my fluids, and then did some of the work that I usually do. Actually, I was thanking God for my boo a few minutes ago when her kindness reminded me of a friend's situation and how he would be a great example for this week's Love Doctor column. I know you single guys think you haven't made, and many of you are avoiding family like the plague. At a wedding recently, the groom couldn't get any of the single men to line up to catch the garter. You know, like the ladies catch the bouquet. It was disgusting. It seems that many of you are unaware of the fact that you are in the cycle of life and one day your situation will change. You have to go from needing and taking as a child to what should be providing for needs in the prime of your adulthood to needing again, eventually in old age. Ever wonder why you see more old men sleeping on the street than old women? I always wonder how many have no children or children for whom they've done very little. There's an old song that says, you don't miss your water till the well runs dry. But I have a dear friend whose situation has made me turn those words around to reflect a positive rather than negative situation. One day someone should write a happy song that goes, when your mouth is dry and you need a sip, if you built a well, all you do is dip. Such was the case for my friend. This week's column is intended to congratulate those male readers who have managed to keep things together in their families, and to warn those who, so far, have found themselves unable to submerge themselves in the responsibility of family life. Come on, don't stop reading now. The column may open your eyes to benefits of the family lifestyle of which you are unaware. Unfortunately, in our society, the value of the family lifestyle seems to have been thrown out in the 60s with the Vietnam War. We've gotten into this do your own thing attitude in which some folks actually believe that they can face the world alone. It's easy to understand since television and movies have pervaded the family as a stone around one's neck. After all, people without families don't have to buy food and clothes for kids or provide housing, medical care, and education. No one spills ice cream on the seat of their BMWs or Hyundais, and they never have to go to a parent-teacher meeting. The problem is aggravated by the fact that people in the family forming years of their lives often have a mistaken sense of invulnerability, a feeling that they will always be able to do everything that they do now. That's understandable, for they have no personal evidence to the contrary. Everything still works. During this period of our lives, we have very few needs that we cannot fulfill ourselves or with another consenting adult. Let's get back to my friend. Here he is, mid-40s, well-educated, in great physical condition, good job, and reasonably good-looking. Okay, what do you want to do? Who's my friend, right? What makes his story relevant is the fact that he was a well-builder, one who accepted the responsibility of a family. He wasn't one of those lone rangers, men unattached or only loosely attached to a family. Friend is a family man. Note, I put that in capital letters. Friend had no way of knowing that in the peak of his years, he was about to find himself vulnerable in a position of temporary need long before the anticipated arrival of old age. After a nearly fatal auto accident on the night he and his wife celebrated their anniversary, Friend found himself temporarily disabled, unable to do almost anything for himself. He needed help to do everything. If ever a man found himself suddenly thirsting for human kindness and support, Friend was that man. Fate had thrown him a curve which had turned his life upside down. He would have to go to his well, his family, and depend on whatever he found there. What he found was a well overflowing with the quenching coolness that springs from the oasis of a family that loved and respected his husband and father. That was pretty poetic, huh? I couldn't lay a track with that. Anyway, as we acknowledge the goodness of Friend's support team, which includes his mother-in-law, despite the television stereotypes, let's consider how different things might have been if Friend had not been a solid family man. What if Friend had chosen not to have a family at all? What if he had deserted the wife and kids to enjoy the pleasures of the free life? Somehow, under different circumstances, I don't really believe that I would be able to have the pleasant visits with this guy gaining weight from the home cooking prepared by his mother-in-law, joking his way past the pains caused by the pins in his leg, feeling warm and secure in the knowledge that whenever he is thirsty, he can get a drink. It's nice to have a full well. Other things come from that well. The pride in children who seek to live up to your expectations. The warmth of a Father's Day breakfast in bed. The getting older and having someone who doesn't see your age. A good well fills up with memories of wide eyes, seeing things never seen before, and the vacations made possible only by well builders. It's pleasant work building a good, solid, and deep well. And you never know when you might need a drink. Whoa, that was all right for a fella that was 40 years old. What do you think of that, huh? That was kind of deep. So listen, right now we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to get a little more into that and actually talk about that, because the world doesn't make it easy to be Family Guy now. Welcome back to the Love Doctor Show. You're listening to Lloyd Dennis and the Love Doctor Show on WBOK 1230 AM. Online, WBOK1230am.com. And you can go on Facebook Live at Love Dr. Nola. Love Dr. Nola, spelled just like it sounds. Welcome back to the show. Just want to take a minute, because we always talk about this. If you care and love about community and people in family who live in the city, please make sure that you go and register and vote. Register and vote so that folks will know that you have to be dealt with. When we don't vote, the elected officials understand one thing very clearly, that they don't have to bother with us, because we are not a factor. We have chosen not to be a factor. Saying when you are not a factor, why should anybody care about you? If you can't impact anything, you can't do nothing. All right. So anyway, we were talking about this water and the well thing, and how living a life a certain way kind of sets. And in particular, in this case, we're talking about a man, and he's a family man, good, committed father, committed husband. Is out there in the world doing what he had to do, as did his wife. I'm not negating that, but in this situation, he was the brother that got knocked down. And all of a sudden, he wasn't the biggest and the strongest person in the house anymore. His kids could do more than he could. Now he was really smashed up in a car accident. I mean, the kind of smashed up where you literally can't do anything for yourself. It had to be fed for a while. But, he went to visit him, and he was really like in his glory. He was being cared for, taken care of, and everybody was happy to do what they did, if you understand what I'm saying. It's like getting all the help you need, and everybody feels good about having the opportunity to give back to the big guy, to the guy that helped make life better in the house. One of the things that we always teach young men in the Silverback Society is when a real man shows up, life is going to get better for women and children, because he's going to bring it. He's going to bring bring himself as an asset and a resource, somebody that makes life better. And so, this is really testimony to what that kind of life means. Not everybody's going to have that situation. Not everybody's going to find themselves suddenly incapacitated. But I got to tell you, though, after sharing this experience with my friend, it made me feel a whole lot better about the things that I did. The things that I had to do as husband and father. Because to tell you the truth, guys, we go through. I tell young men all of this all the time. I say, there's that mule period of life. There's that period of life where, as a young man, you're just a mule. You just pulling the wagon, toting the barge, and every nickel you can make is being consumed and used to keep things going. And sometimes it's a period in life where people really don't express a lot of appreciation. And so you kind of, it's rough to get through sometimes. Because you have days where you feel like, damn, wow. But it's so the piece today. If you've not had that situation in your life, if you're that kind of guy, trust me, if you've been the guy, you've earned some respect and deference. And sometimes people may not really appreciate how much you have been to them until you are in a situation where you need them. And so that's so that piece it really touched me. I remember I wrote it almost immediately after I went to visit my friend, and how it just felt good. It just felt good to know that that's how it really plays out. Now you don't see that on television. They don't show us stuff on television that holds up the good side of being in family life. If you watch television, you would think that being in family life is miserable. The sitcoms is generally about people that are constantly hassling with each other and stuff like that. And so, family life becomes the butt of the joke. But the reality is that it's not really like that. And I see so many young families, I see so many young fathers who are really doing the do and are loved and appreciated and respected by the people in their homes. And this is in no way to take away from the contribution that the women make in those homes, because they too get the love and appreciation. Sometimes I think maybe, I guess at different points in life, maybe to different extents. Because I've always noticed that, if the phone rings and it's one of my kids on the phone, and they just want to talk to somebody, they call for their mama. So I know if she reaches the phone to me, it's because they need something or they want something. And there was a time in my life, I think, where I had a little resentment about that. You call when they want to talk to somebody, they call to talk to their mama. But when they need something, they want to talk to me. As a matter of fact, I had a nephew, and I got, and I'm ashamed of it, but for a minute I had a little attitude with him, because, whenever I heard from my nephew, it's because he needed something. And boy, I felt real small, because a few years later, somewhere down the line, one day out the blue, I get a Father's Day card from my nephew. And this is like after he finished college, and, and he's on his way in life. And what he said a couple of nice things. But one of the things that he said and really made me feel small about my attitude was he saying, thank you, Uncle Lloyd, for being my go-to guy. Wow. For being my go-to guy. And so it kind of made me well up, if you know what I'm saying. Kind of made me well up because that's what we become. That's what we become. Kind of like an everyday hero in that situation. Now, we may not necessarily cook every day. We couldn't nurse the kids because we don't have the equipment when they were babies. But on a certain level, we become, like I say, the mule, for lack of a better expression. I remember those mule days. But when you get through those mule days, you start getting a sense of being the big guy. The big guy. The guy that everybody in that unit, in that family group, feels that their life is better because you were a part of it. And the piece today was about a guy who got to experience it in the worst way, in the best way and the worst way. None of us wants to be knocked down like he was. Trust me. He went through some pain. It took quite a while for him to recover, which he did, fully recovered. But he was literally completely dependent on his wife, his kids, and in his case, his mother-in-law, who just came through for him, cooked, treated him like the prince that he was. And so that piece is one of my favorite pieces. But I just want all of us to recognize that, man, you just can't pay attention to television. You can't pay attention and in any way believe that crap that they're putting on the screen has any semblance to real life. It just doesn't. It's all made up. It's all made to play to some sort of crazy individual, hedonistic, do my own thing. It don't matter kind of attitude about life, which is a bunch of crap. Everything you do in life matters. Everything. Everything is connected to everything else. And so, I talk to young people all the time, and if you ask them, how many of you want to have a great life? They all raise their hand. I say, so when do you start being great? When do you start being great? What are you waiting for? Greatness is a habit. And if you don't start now, when are you going to start? How you going to have a great life if you don't be great? So, that's kind of the same thing. But this is a relationship, the fatherhood, the Lord, God, Adrienne says she don't even watch TV anymore. And I appreciate you. I watch very little. I watch a lot of YouTube, man. You can learn how to do almost anything on YouTube. Anything. You can learn how to fix your plumbing. Just change it. YouTube is I didn't realize it was that good. I'm on YouTube. Love Doctor has a channel on YouTube. If you go to LloydDennis.com, that's the webpage, and it'll have, and you click on Love Doctor, it'll have stuff you can find me, my YouTube channel. Yeah, I'm a techie guy. You don't have to stop being a tech because you're over 60. Social Security and technology are not incompatible. As a matter of fact, I think when you reach this point in life is when you can probably get more out of technology because you're starting to be too old to do much else. You don't get too old to push a mouse around and punch a keyboard, huh? But anyway. So listen, I think what we're gonna do is take a break right now, and we'll come back and we'll talk about what we've been doing, what Boo and me been doing, because I wasn't here last week, but we didn't tell nobody, and I'll tell you why. Welcome back to the Love Doctor Show. You're listening to Lloyd Dennis as the Love Doctor on WBOK 1230 AM, online at WPOK1230am.com, and on Facebook at Love Dr. Nola. Spelled just like it sounds, Love Dr. Nola. And then you can talk back to me because there's Adrienne's been hanging in there since I moved over to Love Dr. Nola. Some of you may not have found me yet, but here I am, and that's where we're going to be from now on. So I would hope and would think that you noticed that last Tuesday we played a pre-recorded show. And that's because Boo and I were out cruising. We were cruising the Caribbean on a 7-day cruise with some good friends of ours, Gwen and Jerry. And so we were doing that. We were on the water, sitting. My favorite place is sitting on the balcony, sipping some red wine as the water goes splash, splash, splash. And I do absolutely nothing except maybe go get something to eat. Somebody said, what's cruising all about? I said, it's about not having anything that you have to do and people doing everything for you except wiping you. It's really about getting a little pampered and getting out of the rat race. And I'm blessed because in the Silverback Society, I have a great deputy director, now Greg Rattler Jr. And so this was the first time in several years where I could just walk off into the cruise. I didn't do email. I didn't do anything. And so thank you, Greg, for allowing me to have that kind of confidence where everything was going to be fine in good hands, in good hands. So really enjoyed the cruise. The thing about cruising, though, and it wasn't this bad. All right, the thing about cruising is, so now cruising has become so popular that when you go to a port, like you go to Cozumel, when we went to Cozumel, it were like six ships docked in the same little bitty place. Cozumel is not that big a place. They must have a taxi cab for every other human being that lives in the city. That must be the way everybody makes their living, driving taxis. But anyway, it's a lot of people at the same time trying to do the same things in a small space. It wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad when they had smaller ships and less of them. Several years ago, I guess back when we started cruising, I was like, what, late 30s, 40s, smaller ships. And when you pulled up and you got off the boat, it was almost like you were someplace. It was almost like you someplace and you could, now it's just like herding cattle. It's just a constant line of people coming and going off of this six ships. And so in Cozumel, we don't even think about like going to a beach or anything like that. We go down to downtown, and they got a nice little plaza there. And we sit at a restaurant, and we have cocktails and munch, and it was really nice. They had people, the little marionette, people playing like a xylophone thing, and some guys came. There some break dancers did wonderful stuff. Some other guys came, played their little guitars and stuff, and we just sat there and drank beer and margaritas until it was time to go back to the ship. Grand Cayman, here's what the ship people won't tell you. This is an inside tip. This is a love doctor inside tip. When you go to a place, go to a public beach. Go to a public beach. When you go to a public, ship's there on Tuesday, right? Go to a public beach in Grand Cayman. Went to 7 Mile Beach, public beach, middle of the week, early in the day. And trust me, people that live on these islands don't necessarily hang out at the beach all the time, especially when it's starting to get cool like it was now. Public beach, nobody. And the key to it is they can't sell it. The ship can't sell excursion stuff on a public beach. They can't make no money. How can you sell it? You can't sell a $50 excursion to go sit on a public beach where people can walk across the street and buy their own beer. So you see, that's a secret. Public beach. Get a cab driver, make sure it's real, authentic, authorized, licensed. Don't want to lose their license, cab driver, and go to X and where a nice public beach is. There you go. We had a great time. Met some nice local people. It was actually the first time that the cab driver actually had us pray before we got out the cab. It was nice. Then we found out where he brought us. His mama was the lady who was renting the chairs and the umbrella. So it was nice. There's some chickens walking around and everything. But that's a secret now. The cruise ships do not sell excursions to public beaches. So when 6 cruise ships come, the place that's least likely to be crowded is the public beach. And so we've learned that. My friend Jerry learned that. So I've just learned that and shared it with you. So yeah, there's a lot of cruise ships, and when we enjoy them, a cruise is what it is. Easy food and drink and hang out, and had a good band for a change. had a good band for a change. Lots of times, us African American baby boomers kind of don't find music that we really can get off into. But this time we did. They had a band that kind of played a genre. And even when they were playing the supposedly white folk music, it was kind of some of that rock stuff that most of us grew up with and could identify with and hang out with. So it was good. They did a great job. This was the Carnival, the Dream, the Carnival Dream. And we always get a balcony because I don't like crowds. My wife likes crowds. I don't like crowds. So I will sit on my balcony and it's just me in the water while she's out on deck with all these people. And sometimes too many children. Why do people bring children on cruise? I don't know. Jazz is looking up at the clock, so I think it's about time for me to get out of here, Jazz. Yeah, because we want to hear that. We want to hear that song one more time. So, ladies and gentlemen, Love Doctor's going to check out. Tune in next week. Make sure you let your friends know, because what kind of friend are you if you don't let your people know the Love Doctor's on the air teaching what they should have learned a long time ago? Louisiana Woman by Big Frank and Lil Frank. And I'm going to find out where you can get it. Even if I got to bring I'm going to have to bring some CDs into the station. Y'all have a good weekend. Tune in next week. Thank you, Facebook. Thanks for finding me, guys.